Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the third edition of webinar of World Series on Data Virtualization, called Agile Telecommunication Information Strategies. My name is Laura Segura, and I will be the facilitator of this session, in which we have Mr. Manuel Doval, CIO of Company R, and Oscar Alonso, Analyst of Penteo Company. Further on, I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Viña, CEO of Denodo, who will introduce this session for you. Thank you, Laura. Welcome to the third edition of the World Series on Data Virtualization, organized and sponsored by Denodo. In the two previous web seminars, we were talking about data virtualization, their differentiation to other different approaches of information, and their application in the different uses that are categorized in three areas: informational, operational, and data management area. We have talked about the advantages of creating a unified layer of data to extract the complexity, diversity, and dispersion of the different source of information used by companies. We have also talked about the importance of providing flexibility in the application of business application and data sources. We also seen how data virtualization facilitates access, management, and data provision, speeding significantly the development of software applications for the businesses. Likewise, we saw how virtualization helps to manage big volumes of data, LOPS files, multinational data, or parallel data, or data accessible via web, and how data virtualization rationalizes costs, preventing duplication and facilitating the evolution of applications and changes in infrastructures. In today's session, we are going to talk about the south of Europe. We are going to talk and move to Spain to know in detail the experience of a company, an innovative company, and a pioneer company in the use of data virtualization. We're talking about a cable operator called R, owned by CVC Capital Partners from Britain, offering services of mobile, land, telephone, and television services, and that manage to fulfill the dream of any other company because they beat competitors and they became leaders in billing with a share that is over 50% of the market. To talk about the R experience and data virtualization, we have today two guests that will provide us with two different visions of these solutions in a company. An internal vision, in this case talking about the users of virtualization of data, and an external vision coming from an analyst that has studied the case of this operator. The internal vision will be provided by Mr. Doval, who is the CIO of R, and he has been responsible for all the strategic decisions made in relation to ICTs at the company. Adding to that is that he has been responsible for the business area and telecommunication sectors of the residential area, which makes him to be very close and very aware of the reality of the company. That is why he was awarded a prize as the best CIO of 2011. The external vision will be provided by Mr. Alonso, expert of data warehousing. Oscar is an analyst of Penteo, an independent European company based in Barcelona that makes consulting and research in strategies in the world of information technologies. Penteo has conducted in 2011 a detailed study on the value provided by data virtualization at R, and this was materialized in a wallpaper that would be available for downloading soon. Without further ado, I give the floor to our guests. Good morning, Manuel. Good morning, Oscar. And also, I leave you with the first speaker, Mr. Alonso. Good morning, and thank you, Angel. Thank you for your introduction. Thank you, Denodo, for their kindness in having invited us to participate in this very interesting series of workshops talking about data virtualization. We will be able to explain to you the vision and our project and the project that we have implemented using this new paradigm of data integration. And so, allow me to introduce to you who we are. We are independent analysts. Our analysis and research is independent, and we work with public and private companies to phase successfully their decision making. Through research projects and through projects, we managed to provide them with knowledge and integrate their experiences and to impartially analyze the different abilities and capacities of the users. The presence in our board of different companies, like us and others, show us vocation, our technical vocation, and to apply this into an analysis always based on a business approach. Thanks to these daily activities and these daily analysis of new trends and these interesting topics for user companies, we have seen an interest in explaining you what new trends of data integration means for you, and more concretely, what data virtualization means for you. In this sense, we have prepared this paper, this study on the experience of R, and as Angel was saying in his introduction, always obviously based on an independent point of view and how this virtualization of data has been used. We've been working and using optic fiber and other volumes for the virtualization of data, using different sources of information to have a single virtual source of data they can have access to in real time by using different applications. So the fact that this is interesting for us and the fact that there's a demand in user companies because they need to integrate and exploit information in a more structured way, because it was very unstructured, because they only had perhaps websites, etc. All this made us to prepare this paper, and today we count on the presence of Manuel, CIO of R, who's going to explain us his vision of the project. So, first of all, allow me to give you a brief introduction of the agenda. The agenda of this presentation. First of all, we're going to see what are the challenges that we have to face, that all companies have to face when dealing with data integration on a daily basis. We are going to see also a brief introduction of who R is, so that you have a context. We will see the needs that appeared for information exploitation and virtualization of data and the different alternatives that this operator of telecommunications in Galicia has been analyzing. Later, we are going to see their implementation strategy and the solution adopted for exploitation of data. And it was very interesting for us as independent analysts, because it was for us a best practice. And we are going to see the evolution of the project of data integration within the ecosystems of our applications and the factors for success, the benefits that R has had from a business point of view and also from a information exploitation point of view. And finally, we are going to give you some conclusions. So the challenges, first of all, challenges we have to face on a daily basis regarding integration of data shows that the task ahead of us is not easy. All organizations, or many organizations, use different engines of data that have not been designed to work complementary with others. So there's a need, a stronger need to have access to semi-structured information and to access to information that is unstructured, to some content of a website, like it is the case of R, access to documents, access to PDFs and webs, and a series of information that is outside in traditional databases, which and we need to be able to exploit all this in a proper way. All this together with the internal and external needs of the companies, because companies have to comply with the regulations and the different legislations that oblige us to keep information within our companies and to be able to exploit this information and use this information in a qualitative way. All this and after the emergence of Web 2.0, we have an exponential growth of the amount of data and the amount of data we need to store. All this lead us to face volume of information, and we need to be able to deal with it in a proper way. And this is what we have to do in this data integration projects. Most companies have implemented integration systems of their data, but it was done in most cases, as we can see on the market, in an isolated way, in an independent way, not using very specific requirements or with a specific evaluation. Obviously, if they integrate their data in an adequate way, they will have a holistic approach. But their approach has been more traditional, allow me to say this. Transformation, extraction and loading, ETL, traditional projects that extract information normally from operational systems and they transform this and this is put in the adequate containers until the decision making arrive. So these kinds of all these ETL projects are not tackling the real problem organizations have to date, having real-time information and quality information. So the point of view is more that we had yesterday in the company is stored today, but we cannot see what is happening today from a structured point of view, especially if we compare this with the SQL traditional storage of information. From our perspective, and when we were interviewing the people in the companies, Manuel and the different users of different companies, key people within organizations, so that we were able to write this paper, we realized that the challenges addressed by R when thinking an integration project, a new way of using this paradigm of information, we have seen that their goal was to innovate, really innovate. The previous situation of the company was that they have a very complicated architecture where there was an integration of different systems that was done on a manual way, very difficult task to do. And this using applications that were tailored or done specifically for them, which is very complicated to have access to real-time information, and which makes very difficult to innovate in the company for ICT. So there's agile characteristics that are needed didn't help in the previous situations to solve their needs, as Manuel was saying. And especially what they want to do now, provide a service to the organization, and to be able to work on a changing market. So the needs of exploit information is similar to the big telecommunication operators have today. And this would be the change we want to provide with this new solution. As I was saying before, in Penteo, we research and we work with our company's users, and we study their best practices and the way they use ICTs in companies. And we were asking the different ICT company users what were the problems, the issues they were dealing with, and the obstacles in the use of data, and the appropriate use of information and the appropriate exploitation of information. Thanks to the data that we obtain, as you can see here, the problem is that still there's a gap to obtain adequate exploitation of information to be really smart in business. Companies complained because they said they had a lot of problems regarding with the increase in the volume and the rigidity of data. They had manuals to manage this data and to process data. So this was really costly for money and time to manage this information. And together with that, we have to say that some of the data were duplicated or mistaken, which is very difficult. So, thanks to best practices and success factors, it is necessary to have technology to help them, to help us, to sort out all the problems related to the volume and use of data, and especially when there's this explosion of data. And also, at the same time, it is necessary to have a specific and a logical way of processing data of these customers and their data. So talking with R, we saw that their problematics were in line with these obstacles we were referring to in the exploitation of information, because the same problems appeared in many other companies that we have seen on the market in relation to data integration of data. On the one hand, they need to have access to big volumes of information and the different sources of information. They still have manual processes for handling data, and they spend a lot of money and time and resources for extracting and handling all this information. And they had very heterogeneous and dispersed tools. There was no support, and the time of response was not the optimum one, which made the things very complicated in exploiting. And this was due to the fact that there was no one tool to integrate all the different pieces of information coming from different sources. The business was demanding ICT tools to be used and to provide information in real time, and the business was making them impossible to have access to websites because they only had semi-structured or unstructured information. And obviously there is also regulation, there's also another demands, and you need to have an analysis of this information, and I don't have all these possibilities with this traditional tool. So imagine that this problem and all this will have an impact on the business in terms of economic terms, in terms of confidence, in terms of satisfaction. As I was saying before, and as Manuel is going to explain you later on, this is also an issue that R has sorted out in a very good way. But it is true that most companies don't bear in mind or are not aware of the quality of data, and the quality of data is the center of this issue. And this is not bear into consideration as it should be, and it is basically what companies need. So if you see our research, 38% of our companies or organizations believe that they have inefficient data, 23% estimate that the quality of data is not enough, and only 8% of companies in the study consider they have a good quality of data. So due to our research process, we can see that this is one of the main factors or one of the main obstacles you can see in this implementation project for all these corporate systems that have to be managed in a proactive way to integrate the quality of data in a good way. So this is the end of the introduction to the problems related to data integration in our companies. Now I give the floor to Manuel. Manuel is responsible for R, and he's going to explain what they do and who they are at R. So, Manuel, good morning. You have the floor. Good morning to everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Denodo and Angel for having invited me to this series on virtualization. I would like to explain you who is R. It's an operator of fiber optic in Galicia in the north of Spain. So that you have an idea of who we are located in Spain, to the north west of Spain. It's a communication system of using fiber optic, and it's the most important operator in Galicia, providing services to companies for them to be more competitive on the market, and also providing services to homes with the services that are very advanced and that are attractive for them. Talking about now the composition of our customers, basically 77% of our customers are homes and 33% are companies. It is true that R is the European cable operator with the highest income coming from the industrial sector, arriving to 33%, and the proportion with the income is very important, and it comes from different sources. Talking about income, our main income comes from landline telephony systems, approximately 50%. The rest come from the internet sector, and we have a lot of services, high-speed services, both in homes and for companies. 10% accounts for television, and a significant percentage accounts for mobile telephony. We need to think that we have been working as a virtual mobile operator for 3 years in Galicia, and however, income compared to the total of services is quite important. So the monthly income per customer counts for 55 and 130 in companies together makes more than €100 per month. Another important figure is that we have invested more than 820 million since the beginning. In our 10th year of operation, we have had also an EBITDA and operation efficiency, which is very important for the income of the company. More than 77% of our customers have access to the high-speed internet. In many areas, we provide services of a service connection of more than 100 megas. And for you to know, or for comparison with other telecommunication operators in Spain, I have to say that the customers and the service we provide to the customers is the double of the average in Spain. Now, talking about our needs concerning virtualization, obviously we always want to have a time to market as fast as possible. We are deploying different services. That's why we wanted to have and reach mechanisms that would allow customers and the business to have information in real time. We have to handle information coming from different sources, so we need to use different applications that are developed and deployed from an operational efficiency point of view. But we also need to apply information to the customers, to our customers, and internal and external customers, the end users and end customers. So we saw that there was a dispersion and a huge distribution of our information, but it was not easy for us to distribute all this information. And we also had information, emails and other information coming from different formats and different files. So as you can see, there was a myriad of different sources that were not structured at all in databases. Therefore, we had a lot of difficulties in handling all that. And our employees had been working and they have been asking for years to have a mechanism for them to increase productivity compared to the competitors. Automation with an automation of some activities to better handling information. The alternatives that we were considering and before thinking using data virtualization, and we have been working in an environment of process integration, and this solution was one of the possibilities that we were thinking at the beginning, but the process was going to be very long and with high costs, because if we had to use this, we would be adding processes instead of managing them. Another possibility, obviously we are using with business intelligence and other tools, and this could have been a possibility, using this kind of tools, but also it required a long time for the implementation, and also costs would be high, and this was also an obstacle for us, because it is not possible to have access to information in real time. Another possibility we were envisaging was using other strategies that are more personalized or tailored solutions, but this was not satisfactory for us and for our customers. So the different alternatives, and And if we can compare them, all the alternatives, we can see that they had high costs and a long time for their implementation. Their inability to have access and information in real time, that was key for us, but also the possibility of extracting directory that was very complicated in the event of our applications, and this made impossible for us to use, because our users knew that using this tool, it was going to be impossible for them to cover for their needs. But when we started to see what is virtualization, it is true that we were amazed. And virtualization, we obviously can have different definitions of virtualizations, but it is true that we needed to have access to information coming from different sources, transform this information in only one single virtual information, and make it available for applications and also for acceptance of information environments that will be used by users, by end users, that can be complicated, but for end users, this is very efficient for them. That's why we opted for that. So what we saw? Well, we saw that was something new for us. We were implementing already some alternatives as in the different solutions I was referring to before. So we decided to make a test to be able to compare costs, to compare efforts, to compare performances, to compare also the response deadlines and times as to the need to facilitating information in real time. So what we did was to find the solutions and solutions for this use. To do what? To assess the benefits and the most important benefits and the most appropriate benefits of what we needed. Extracting information, structured or semi-structured information or non-structured at all, and to using external webs and looking information, searching information by context, indexing, and have caches of the information, to providing information in real time. All this was done in a project in which the idea was to use the project we were analyzing, that we were working with this for 6 months, and duplicate it in the sense of the required features, and to compare it and to compare the results of the two things. So, what was the idea behind all this? Well, in the end, information has to be, in the end, a service of information in which we use a single platform as a data source, forgetting all the sources, all the origins, because operationally, as we had all the information and the applications that we had are useful, so our quality of data are okay. So we have good quality because users have helped us a lot. But from the very beginning in the company, when we bid for the use of these systems of information, we said everybody that it's not a perfect system, but we eliminated the possibility of having department applications, because what was not an incorporating system, it was not going to be taken into account. This allowed us to have a good quality of data, which is key, and that was covered in our project. And the differences. So we wanted to have a complexity of data coming from different origins and using different applications. We wanted to have a single layer of business object with clear concept that business users has helped us have helped us to use and reuse and optimize and to be used in following projects, because this integration scenario were used to have access to information that was already integrated in order to avoid duplication of information and to use also the possibility of having caches of information. Always considering that access to this information is done through standard interfaces without without the need to use complicated things. And also it was key for us to have operational systems that should give a response, because obviously we are working with users, and users should not be impacted by difficulties. That was our action strategy. We have achieved what we have achieved with all this. In less than 6 months, we could provide access in real time to all the information of the customers that were stored. So we developed a lot of things, actually. The reduction in the efforts achieved in this project is very significant. So we literally didn't have to have new knowledge profiles apart from the support given by suppliers, but users or experts in ICT, we didn't have to use new profiles or new professionals. In all the projects were really defined, and all the solutions are really agile and capable to provide a response to our business partners as to creation of new services and the creation of new sources of information depending on the needs of each customer by changing what was necessary. So the improvements we achieved are really significant. The implementation, what we do? Well, we did having in our web for customers information of all services, data, billing, consumption, and in real time. Payments that were still to be paid, incidences, the situation, the status of the different requests of information, incidences, or any kind of contact that was generated by the customers or by us. All this could be used by the customers using our web, so we were able to give a response to the need, and this was not possible before. Where is located all this of virtualization? As I was saying before, we have an environment in which we already had a MIE, and within this layer is where we have installed virtualization. So we have generated this abstraction layer with data sources by using the applications that are existing in our map of systems or websites or files that can be stored in an unstructured way, or using information that is a little bit dispersed, coming from files or different kind of files or different kind of sources. For you to have an idea, the amount of data we have access to is quite diverse. So what we do is to convert all this information into a single updated layer of information close to the business that is made available for internal customers or external customers or end users. So this entails an effort. What effort does it entail? Well, if we see the percentages of integrations that we have to date, using the different tools, AIE covers for 50% of the integrations we have regarding integration of systems. The tool for extraction the ETL accounts for 50%. We also have talk about different units of information, and obviously the other tools RDE accounts for 50%, which is very significant. And if we see the number of people that we employ or we work with to achieve all this, there is a reduction. 3 people for the integration of information, and we only need 1 person for 35% of the integration we have so far or to date. So as you can see, if you want further information about data, we can talk about volumes and the kind of data or the kind of information. Marketing of users with more than 100,000 customers that access the portal of services with approximately 30 something different sources of data, databases or web load applications file, plain text files, and with all this, which is apparently very complicated, we are providing with a lot of queries per day, and a high percentage of these queries are already cached, which allowed us to be agile and to provide a fast response to this kind of queries. The access to information is in real time, and we use an update of information tool. And however, all this is located in 3 servers, and 2 more that are used for development or implementation, testing, and other things. So this is the scenario we had, and we are working with data protection, which is a legal requirement which obliges us to keep all the calls, access of websites of our customers, and all the information regarding our customers should be stored. In the case of the court requests, we have all this stored in file type storage systems ordered in directories, and we are able to give a response to these kind of needs in an ordered way. And the figures of operations, you can see millions of calls per day, so we have information stored for 1 year, which is very significant actually. On the other hand, we have access to external sources of information, and in some cases for management of customers' risks, and we have websites that indicate and gives us all this kind of information, but this is done in a non-assistive way, information of our competition, and we have a context search, and we are also now implementing a very ambitious project to be able to have information without storing the decoder of each customer of the programming, and be able to generate recommendations in real time on the basis of the profile of consumption of customers. All this in this environment, and without this environment, this would be very difficult to achieve. Thank you, Manuel. Thank you for your wonderful presentation about the evolution of the project and how you've been working in the project, all the steps you've taken, and the evolution of the data virtualization platform. And I would like to explain the key for success that are took into consideration for implementing this project of data virtualization. The first and the most important thing is they had a business need And this need allowed them to assess and evaluate the return of information and investment, the return of investment, which is absolutely important. And as Manuel was saying before, is very important. On the other hand, are bad for the a layer of business model, because we are rather talking about business instead of technologies. A very key to success in the implementation of the project and the different initiatives related to data is that warehousing, data governance, and the important things, the important is the management of owners of data, and R has been very effective in this because they are the guarantor to control and to steward data, which is very important. It's also very interesting to bear all this in mind and to analyze the different platforms that you can have on the table for data virtualization. And thanks to the features of the Denodo platform for the appropriate management of changes in the data and how data are managed. All these complexities and all these technicalities of these data of integration initiatives have been sorted out, and we can see how important this is in the migration of these underlying systems of information when they are moved to this new piece of technology. Another important thing is the involvement of users and the business. There was an internal process, and a lot of people were involved to have a success of this initiative. So we need to have data updating, but as a shift in the mentality, not only as a new technology to be used. So there's a rationale also explaining for what each part is used to. R has planned and has designed before implementing, because data integration is very complicated. Therefore, we need to take time and to design the basis for the future so that we can plan and see how our target layer will be in advance progressively to this achievement. And as Manuel was saying, quality of data is very important. Thanks to our research, this is a very important factor which is not normally taken into consideration in this kind of integration project when talking about different solutions. And R has achieved in a very efficient way prior to the implementation. They have been taking into consideration quality of data and to perfection, so to speak, the data, which is not an easy task. Quality of data is a very important factor because we need to have consistent values, and we need to have processes of data quality that later will be applied for all the businesses. So R has applied all the quality of data all along the different layers. Talking about benefits, this operator R using fiber, optic fiber, considers that this compensates for the initial investment done as to licenses, as to equipment and technology, and it is finally a project with a return which is very high. So the satisfaction of R with the Denodo platform is very high. The benefits implies a reduction of costs of infrastructure. Everything is controlled. It all facilitates the integration of existing systems, and which is very interesting to bear into consideration, to take into consideration. They separate, on the one hand, applications and the different origins of data. So migrating a situation and the layer middleware, and they have improved access, and now they are able to have access in real time to information. All right. So they have semi-structured, they have used semi-structured or unstructured information because they had to have access to different websites, or access into information coming from the competitors, or accessing information that's due to legislation in Spain was contained in different files was possible thanks to this. And they provide the organization with a 360-degree vision of data, not only the IT department but to the whole company. And the company provides support, and all this allowed them to create to new products and services for the market. Productivity has been improved dramatically because collection processes and duplication of information has been reduced. And lastly, they achieved to to achieve alignment. And using this platform, this Denodo platform, and the Data Virtualization platform, they have aligned ICT services with the needs in terms of flexibility, because they can integrate all things in less time, giving only 3 days of training to experts, and the different features are independent, and so the integration that is possible now is more comprehensive. And to conclude with the presentation, I would like to say that R has had an added value in this because they were able to provide their customers with real-time access to the information, and the number of calls to customer service was dramatically reduced, which also provides with a reduction of costs. And R can now anticipate the needs of the customers, and they can generate new products. So the image customers have of R is one of the main differences, and that makes the difference with the customers. They were able to launch new products into the market, and the infrastructure costs that are underlying have been reduced dramatically, and customers can now interact with their portals. So thanks to this technology, all this has been achieved. Business processes have been optimized, and the satisfaction of customers is higher because they have new opportunities into the market, because they are able to provide or to respond in a proactive way to the needs of the customers. And the Denodo platform allowed them to generate abilities for data integration that was never possible before. This transformation is key and is indispensable for this operator in Galicia, because they have been using all the features that we were describing. With all this, I can now end the presentation. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Manuel, for your presentations. And I would like to thank you all that are following this webinar. I urge you now to send comments, questions, experiences to cvcworldseries.com. We are going to answer all or reply to all your questions in a personalized way. Our next presentation in the World Series will be held on October 26th, and the topic will be turning data into information in financial services. We have reached the end of our webinar. Thank you for your attention, and see you next week.
Denodo,
technology provider of data virtualization, a leader in flexibility, performance, and ROI, offered you World Series on data virtualization.